Hello, welcome. Thanks everybody for joining. I'm Daphne with the Fiber Co, and this is the kickoff for the Cloudspotter Tee Crochet Along. What's the Cloudspotter Tee? Well, it's one of 5 beautiful designs in the Fiber Co's first ever crochet collection. And the Cloudspotter Tee that you can see here in this image has been made in our meadow yarn and designed by Lindsey Newns, who's going to be joining us here shortly. But first, let me tell you a little bit about Lindsey. Perhaps many of you know her already. She's here on social media as Lottie and Albert. She's been crocheting and designing for several years, and she came to the world of crochet and design from the publishing industry. And that's really helped her publish designs and write books on crochet. But her main business is running a box, a monthly subscription box. And I want to get this name right so you can look it up. It's called the Curate Crochet Box. And I'm going to just double check here to see if I can find Lindsey and get her to join this. There she is. Oh, hi, Lindsey. Hi.
Hello, how are you doing? Can you hear
It's
me
really
okay?
nice to see you.
Hi, and
I
to
hear
you.
just
Thank you so
fine,
much for
thanks.
inviting me on.
Oh,
Perfect.
thanks for coming. Yeah. And thanks for finding the quiet spot to hang out with your...
Oh, well, yeah, I was saying I had the decision of doing a studio space, and I decided that my studio buddies would almost certainly be quieter. So if you hear heckling in the background, that's them.
Well, if you hear something in the background here, it's probably going to be my little doggy, but
Oh,
we'll make do. That's the fun part about Instagram and going live, isn't it?
well, quite, yeah. And I feel like the nerves are all beforehand, and then once we get going, we'll be good.
That's right.
I'll
That's right. So, Lindsey, you probably heard me just a few, I took a couple of minutes there to welcome everybody and tell them that we were here for the Cloudspotter Tee Crochet Along. I told them a little bit about the Cloudspotter Tee and that it was part of the first ever crochet collection that the Fiber Co has put out that just launched a couple of weeks ago, and that your lovely Cloudspotter Tee, we chose that for this crochet along. It's the only design in the collection that we're doing a crochet along for because, first of all, we think it's really pretty. And we also think it makes a great design. So if you're like many of our followers are mostly knitters, but they often know how to do some basic crochet, but maybe they've never really gone to the whole aspect of doing a whole project. And so this is it's a simple stitch involved, and we'll get you to tell us all about it. But also the other side was we knew that you had so many crocheters that follow your work, but maybe not all of them do garments. And if they don't do
Sure.
garments, this is an easy one to go to, isn't it? So what I thought we'll go through all that in just a minute. But what I thought I wanted to just ask you first, I know you're south of me. Somewhere. We're in the Lake District here at the Fiber Co in northern England, in the county of Cumbria, and you're Gloucester way.
Yeah, I'm in Gloucestershire, so southwest. Yeah, yeah. So we are
southwest.
Southwest. Yeah. Just up from Bristol.
Yeah, and is it steaming there where you are today?
It's pretty warm. Do you know, we've had a nice breeze today. I'm quite enjoying it. I feel like we can never be happy, can we? If it's too hot, we'll complain. And if it's the opposite, we'll complain. But it's quite pleasant today. I think it's going to get hotter, but yeah, we've got a breeze, so we're okay.
Yeah. Yeah, we're unseasonably warm. No, I shouldn't say unseasonably warm. It's unseasonable because it's never warm here, but we're certainly enjoying it. And for everybody who's joined, and there's quite a few of you, please feel free to comment and tell us where you're from, because it's really fun for us to see and think about where everybody's joining in from. And I know we have people who are interested in, have joined the CAL and signed up already and registered from it for it, and they're from all over. So please do leave a comment and let us know where you are, and we'll get things going here. Lindsey, what I thought we could do is go through and I'll ask you a couple of questions about the design itself. And then from there, we'll walk through the structure of the Crochet Along. And so people will know what to expect. And if they're undecided whether to join or not, then they can just maybe make a decision because of the way it's going to be run. And one thing to bear in mind is that today's session here on this IG Live event will be recorded. So you'll have time to think about it. We'll send it out tomorrow. But let's talk about the design itself. It was meant to be for a summer collection. And as I said, it's our first ever crochet collection. And what about this design and the whole idea that it was for summer kind of was behind the inspiration for what you came up with?
Well, yeah, good questions. And also, notwithstanding the current weather, we're gonna make things no matter what the weather. Even in the summer, I'll be crocheting and making things. But I appreciate that for some people, maybe a summer crochet garment might not be the thing that's first on their mind. So more than anything, I just wanted to sort of show it can be done and prove that you can have a really beautiful lightweight garment that's wearable in the summer too. So that was kind of where I was coming from initially. And really it was just about thinking about, for me, what I would be wanting to wear in the summer, something really lightweight and boxy that can just be worn in lots of different ways. So that was kind of where I came from in terms of like the shaping, and obviously then the yarn informed that choice as well, because it's such a beautiful lace weight yarn, and kind of creating a stitch pattern that tied into all that really nicely. And I wanted an open stitch pattern, but obviously not something that you had to worry about having to wear something on underneath. So that's then where the moss stitch, linen stitch choice came in. So yeah, I did just find actually the initial sketch that I did when I was submitting. So I've written boxy and lightweight and just a simple rolled up sleeve. So I think it's quite interesting when a project's finished to go back and look at your initial sketch. And actually it was wonderful to work with you, because we didn't make hardly any modifications. You just went with my design, which is always a joy as a designer to do as well.
That's often the case with us, because we figure that the designer is the expert, and if they've worked with a yarn and sussed it out and they have a sense of what it would be best. So we like for that to be the general course of working with us. So that's cool. You know, you've mentioned the moss stitch and that it's light. And is it, and in fact, the garment, I remember when it came in, I was like, could this possibly be? It was so lightweight. And I think it only weighs a little over 200 grams. And that's not the smallest size. We always make our samples in the third size up, so because they travel on trunk shows, and we try to choose a size that's not the smallest and not the biggest. I think it weighed maybe 225 grams. It's so lightweight and it's beautiful. And I've actually worn it myself here on a live event. Oh no, I think on a webinar once. I wore it just to before it went out traveling on trunk shows. But it's a really beautiful lightweight. And so the moss stitch, is it something that you've used quite a bit in your other designs, or is it?
Yeah, interestingly, I have used it, but more in homewares. So it's quite an interesting stitch in that if it's worked really tightly, it can create that really nice structure and texture in that way. But the way that we've worked it in this garment, with using a hook size that's bigger than what the yarn would naturally call for, it's also then allowed us to have that beautiful drape. And because it's the stitch repeat of the double crochet in the chain, it then does naturally create that more airy texture and structure. So yeah, I have used it before, but not in a garment and not in this kind of way. So yeah, that's quite an interesting one for me as well, to play with the stitch in that way and to create a completely different drape from it than I've used previously. I think I made some washcloths like an Aran weight cotton, which so they were a completely different vibe and feel.
Good. And how would you describe the stitch in terms of its ease? You know, is it for someone who's maybe never done it? Is it, do you think, would you say it's an easy stitch, crochet stitch, or
Yeah, I'd definitely describe it as an easy crochet stitch in that it is pretty much just a UK double crochet and a chain, and you're repeating that along the row, and then when you're working back on subsequent rows, you're then working the double crochet into the chain space. So again, a little bit like if somebody's only ever done maybe a granny square, where in a granny square, one of the beautiful things about that is you're not even needing to work into the top of the stitch necessarily, because you're always working into those chain spaces, which as a beginner is often easier to find. Moss stitch is similar in that respect, because you're just working into those chain spaces. So because of the nature of the yarn, sometimes that fast row is a little bit trickier. So that's one of the things I would say about this garment in particular. It's that kind of setup row. It's a little bit harder to see where you're working into, but after that, it's I would say it's a really nice stitch for beginners. And the way, I didn't necessarily set out to make a super beginner friendly garment, but I think that, like you said, that is what we've ended up with, because as well, in terms of the construction, where it's a super boxy fit, you're working in rows with just a small amount of shaping around the neck. So it's really beginner friendly in that respect as well, I would say.
Yeah, and it's two pieces, isn't it? You do the front and the back, and then you join your seams at the shoulder and the sides.
Yeah.
And then you stitch on your cuffs,
a small number of rows for the sleeves. Yeah.
Nothing simpler than that, really, in terms of, you know, a structure. So that should give people some confidence that they can do a nice a garment. And because it's boxy, there's plenty of room for getting the fit right. And
yeah,
cool.
Yeah.
Oh, you mentioned UK single crochet, and I just wanted to let everybody know who's listening that there are two pattern PDFs. We have had the pattern written in both UK crochet terms as well as US crochet terms. So that makes it even easier. So when you purchase the pattern, either on our website or on Ravelry, you'll get that opportunity to download two PDFs in the two versions that are clearly marked. So make sure you're using the one that you understand, and you know, it'll just make it that much easier. So what about color work and crochet? I mean, your designs to me, Lindsey, are just so fresh and inviting for their color. You use color really well. Is it something that you enjoy doing in your designs? And tell us a little bit about that.
Yes, I really love color, and I also really love texture. What I feel like the reason is maybe not so inspirational as it might come across. It's more because I get bored quite easily, and I find if I have color work changes, or even actually for me as well, if anybody resonates with this and they're maybe more of a beginner, if I have maybe like a variegated yarn or something with a bit of a fleck or a tweed, sometimes that will keep my interest as well. But yeah, I love having a color change to work up to, or some color work to work in, because I find it just motivates me, particularly if I'm working on a garment or a blanket that's a larger surface area. If I end up working back and forth in one stitch in one color, I personally don't have the attention span. I'm in awe of these, you know, especially I think maybe like you made the comparison earlier between crochet and knitting, and some of the garments you see in the knitting community, especially in lightweight yarns. I'm in awe of that. Maybe that's in my future when I'm a faster knitter, because I'm sort of the opposite way around. I'm now quite a fast crocheter, and I can knit, but I'm very slow. So yeah, for me, color work, I think that's probably where I first got into it personally and enjoyed it personally. And so then I naturally then just bring it into my designs in that way, because it does keep my interest. And yeah, as I said, it could be a texture as well. So if there's like, I love loop stitch in crochet, and post stitches as well, because you can then create really interesting patterns either by working on the front or the back post in different orders. So yeah, mostly I do it to keep my own interest, but yeah, I'm glad it comes across in a nice way.
Keep your own interest. And It does. And, you know, we have to all scratch our own itches, you know, as we do our work, because otherwise, you know, there has to be, you know, some benefit beyond it just being, you know, work. It's something that really inspires our creativity, and something to keep us going, especially to see the
Yeah.
progress. And yeah, color work for me has always been that sort of thing, is just seeing the progress, and you just say, oh, I'm now at the next stripe, I'm now at the next whatever section, and that always feels really good. And to cure boredom, absolutely. What about knitting with Meadow? What did you think about knitting with Meadow? I mean, I know it's crocheting with Meadow. I know it's a lace weight yarn. We refer to it as a heavy lace
Okay.
weight yarn, but it's, you know, sometimes it's daunting to think about a lace weight yarn for anything, knitting or crochet. How did you find the yarn and working with it?
Yes. So, pretty much like you said, well, I've got here are two I had made earlier. I was just going to say, probably on the shelf behind me, I definitely lean naturally more towards chunkier yarns or Aran weight, probably for the same reason I just talked about color work. I find it quite gratifying when things grow quickly. But then, having said that, probably then I've got lots of lace weights or 4-plies here that I haven't reached for as quickly. So maybe that won't ring true. But I really enjoyed working with it. And I think, like I said, because I had those color changes, and also I feel like I cheated slightly because it calls for a 2.25 to 3.25 hook or needles naturally. And I used a 4.5mm crochet hook. And that was partly because I don't have the garment here, but I do have this little swatch that I was working on to create that really nice open texture and the drape that we talked about. So I think because I was working with a hook size that is more natural for me, I didn't find that it hampered, you know, I really enjoyed working with it. It's such a beautiful yarn. And yeah, these are the two that I use. So for the sample, Queen Anne's lace, and is it fennel? Yeah,
Fennel.
fennel in
Yes.
that
Yeah.
colorway. So
Yeah.
yeah, they're so soft and such a lovely sheen. So yeah, I really enjoyed working with them. Perhaps has given me, even as like I
Fantastic.
said, as a designer, a little bit more confidence in working with that weight yarn in the future as well. So yeah.
Yeah. I would say, you know, if that's not your normal go-to yarn weight, you did, you you know, you nailed it. So well done.
Okay.
Um,
Thank you.
well, why don't we tell everybody what to expect? I mean, this is what we're calling the kickoff. It's really just meant to be this live event that we are recording. People can watch back to know what to expect and hear a little bit about the background and the inspiration. But it would be good to walk through what's coming. So we're calling this, what we're doing right now, week 1. If we look at week 2, and it's a 7-week process, it's something will happen every Wednesday. So the second week that's coming up next week on the 20th, there's a video plan for this week. Do you want to tell us a little bit about what the participants can expect from that video?
Sure. Yeah. So, again, with the content coming up to support the CAL, obviously people can go straight in if they want to, imagine. But if you would like a little bit more help, the things that we've prepared are the video that you mentioned. So, really just walking through step by step, very slowly, how to work moss stitch. So, also often called linen stitch, isn't it? So maybe you might have heard of linen stitch, but not of moss stitch. They're kind of used interchangeably. So just it's a close up of my hands, very slowly working through. And I think I also included a little bit about how to color change in the video as well. So that's the first piece that's coming up. And then I believe from weeks 3, 4, and 5, there are 3 other blog posts coming up where I do just go into a little bit more detail with some photos, step-by-step walkthroughs on some of the parts of the garment that perhaps people might not be so familiar with, particularly if you're a beginner. So one of those is how to create the join at the shoulder. So once you've worked your 2 panels, the front and the back, how to use a double crochet seam to join at the shoulder. Another one is, how to color change. So again, in detail, how to bring in that second color, and a little bit of advice on managing the two color yarns there. And then the third one will be how to work the mattress stitch seam, which is the seam that I've used to join the side, which again, if you're a knitter, you might be more familiar with. But I find it a really useful seaming technique. It's done with a needle and a sort of a length of yarn rather than a crochet hook. But if the idea of sewing seams makes you feel terrified, don't be. It's actually quite a simple technique. So again, I've got a little swatch here, but I use the mattress stitch to join these, and it's just a really nice one because it's pretty invisible. And so I've used the Queen Anne's lace color to join all the way through, and you can't actually see the join there through the color work. So it's a really nice one when working garments, if they've got color work or something, just because it does create that near invisible, because I feel no seam is completely 100% invisible, but it's certainly a lot more invisible than, for instance, a double crochet seam. And you can also, you work it on the outside of the garment, so it's quite a nice one to learn and to have in your...
Lindsey, I have to say, when the garment came, as all garments, when they arrive here, we pull them out, we scream, ooh, ah, we look at them, we turn them inside out, we look at them. And for the longest time, we couldn't tell if there was a seam in your garment or not. And how did she do this? It was such a beautiful, we really did have to, like double check and look. And it wasn't until I actually read the instructions of your pattern that you submitted that I believe that it really was seamed, because it's beautiful. You did such a good job, your skills and everything. But as you said, it is not to take away from how beautiful your seam was. It isn't difficult, and even for those who didn't grow up sewing or have the word sewing makes them shake at the knees. This is nothing to be afraid of, and it's easy to do. And well, I'll just say that. So that's did that take us through the third one? Then we did.
Yeah, so how to color change, how to do the double crochet seam at the shoulder, and then how to work the mattress stitch seam on the sides. So that, and then I believe there's also at the end, so week 7, there's going to be a little bit of a show and tell. So anybody who's currently working on the garment or has finished the garment, if they want to, maybe you wanted to talk a little bit more about that, but I believe there will be prizes. I was told the word prizes, so
there are prizes. Yeah, so week 6 and 7 are just kind of go on, get it done, finish your project, take beautiful photographs and share them with us, because we will be using those as indication that you've finished your Cloudspotter Tee, and therefore you will be entered to win one of several prizes that are yet to be announced. But the Fiber Co is known for their good prizes, so definitely, 7 weeks you can do it, and send in your photos, and there'll be a series of emails going out throughout this whole process, giving the instructions to everybody, so everybody knows where to send, how to share their photos with us. And we're really excited. We can't wait to see the combinations. People have been ordering kits, and we've seen a lot of colors of, kind of quite a typical blue and white, like what I'm wearing, the typical mariniere, French blue and white stripe. But I've seen some really nice combinations as well, like stripes of not white and something, but, like a pink and then a darker purple. So I can't wait to see. I hope people do share their photos with us and get a chance to win a prize. So that's really good. We're excited about that. Now, what I wanted to make sure is that everybody who decides to join, who hasn't joined yet, on how you can sign up. In our IG profile, there is a link tree there, and if you go there, there'll be something that you can register for the Crochet Along itself, and in that we'll have you with all the instructions you need to make sure you're on the right list. So you get all the notifications, you get notified when there's the video comes out. You can send in questions, things like that, and we'll do our best to get answers to you. But that's how you sign up. And let's see, what else can we tell them about the process? It'll be fun, right?
Yes, I have to say as well, as a designer, quite often you're asked in like interviews, like, what's your favorite part? And I always say I have two favorite parts. So the first is the idea stage. I just love that like fuzzy feeling when you're coming up with ideas or you're swatching with yarn, and it's really exciting. And then the second favorite part for me is seeing people making, I don't know if this is narcissistic or what, but when you see people making the garments or whatever from your design, but it's about seeing what colors people have chosen, because I find it really exciting then, or if somebody puts a twist on it or does a different, even just a different colorway. I love seeing when other people make the pattern. That's one of my favorite parts, so I'm looking forward to that.
Well, that's great. Don't disappoint Lindsey, everyone. Make sure you send in your photos.
No, or and also just rips. I think this platform is so wonderful for sharing those works in progresses. And I know, the number of CALs that I've joined, but for whatever reason, sometimes they take me a lot longer than other people, seemingly. But I also think it's really nice to share your progress, and just, even if it's not a finished garment at that stage, or even if you're working on your stripes and it's your first crochet garment and you're proud of your color work, I still want to see it. So
yes,
show us your
absolutely. And since you've mentioned that, what I will add, for those who don't think they can finish, because of whatever plans they have, if they start their project and they take some beautiful photographs of their work in process, they too will be entered to win prizes. So that's you have a fallback. So, well, this has been really lovely to see you here, Lindsey, and to see everybody who's joined. Thank you very much for coming. Thank you for your interest in the Cloudspotter Tee. Do check it out. Do register. Even if you're undecided, register, and maybe you decide midway through that you want to join. And check out the entire collection, because there are 4 other designers who made beautiful pieces for the By Hook collection. There's a lovely shawl. There's a beautiful cardigan using kind of mosaic crochet, and there is a bag, and there is a blanket, and a most amazing blanket. It's called the Rise and Set blanket, and it has a big sun in the middle of it. And I think if you have a look at the By Hook collection, you'll see the Cloudspotter Tee and all the things related to this Crochet Along on our website. But do register and consider it, and let us know what you think about it. And thank you all for joining. Thank you, Lindsey, so much for your time. Thank you for making a beautiful design. And we look forward to seeing everybody throughout the Crochet Along.
Awesome. Thank you so much for having me. It's been really lovely to chat to you.
Thank you. You too, Lindsey. Bye for now, everyone.